Hey, welcome back to the big room. Mr. Royster here. I survived, the big sit-in. Hakuna Matata. And we're moving forward. Two things I want to talk to you about. The first thing is this. Right there on Moodle is a Sketch It, kind of like a reflection from the big sit-in and from the Throne project. I want you to respond to on Moodle to me because I want to get some feedback from you as to what are you walking away with from that? What did you learn from that whole process? Okay? So be sure you pay attention to Moodle. Look for the link that's going to take you to the question that you're going to respond to and submit it on Moodle so I can learn some things from you. And you can learn some things from you as well. Expression deepens the impression. That's what I used to be told by a good friend of mine who was a mentor of mine. So that's the first thing that I want to talk to you about. The second thing is this, where we're headed next week. Next week, where we're going starting on Monday is we're going to meet Clay on Monday. One of my favorite days of the entire school year is meeting Clay. And on Tuesday, we're going to forge ahead into the next project. The GQ for the next project, the guiding question for the next project is how can an IB artist use the cycle of design as a framework to understand further the properties of sculpture, 3D, while using clay as a medium to create a word plate. A word plate. These are word plates. Relatively simple project to do. And the whole reason for doing it is it's an introductory project to using clay. Okay? Introductory project to using clay. What you're looking at right here is a design, investigation phase design. A word was chosen. This particular artist chose the word dawn. Must be their name. And they had to create a design. They had to create a letter style. They had to create a shape for their word plate. And they had to think through what they were going to do in the negative space. Positive space, negative space. And one of the aspects of this particular project is removing material. This is learning to sculpt or remove material from a surface in order to be able to create that form and that dimension. So you're going to have to do the same thing as well. The investigation and planning phase of this are relatively simple. You're going to need to choose a word. There's the first thing. You're going to need to choose a word that you're going to use for your word plate. And you're going to need to choose a shape. A shape. What is the shape of your word going to look like? Okay? And what is, in the sense of the font, and then what is the shape of the plate itself going to look like? How are you going to create this to make it look the way you want it to look? Your Sketch It for this week. The reason why I bring this up, by the way, your Sketch It for this week is to do six, count them, 6 designs, 6 different ideas. You can use the same word if you'd like in those 6 ideas, but to choose 6 different nameplate, word plate ideas, different shapes, different ways of doing the letters before you choose the one that you're going to use. By Tuesday of next week, you're going to want to have those thumbnails ready to stamp off before I'm going to give you the clay that you're going to use to do what's called slabbing. I'm going to teach you next Tuesday about slabbing. You're going to use what's called a slab roller and slab sticks to create your slab. From your slab, you're going to lay down your idea, your design. You're going to incise it onto the clay, and then you're going to go through the process of sculpting or removing clay from your word plate, cutting it out, getting it the right shape. You're going to learn how to smooth things. You're going to learn how to texturize things. It's relatively simple. They're things you've probably done before if you've worked with Play-Doh ever in the past, or taking gum out of your mouth and swirled it around and sculpted it into something and then stuck it underneath one of your chairs in class. You know how to use something that's pliable, like clay. Clay is a huge amount of fun to work with, but we have to learn how to do it successfully because for some folks, it's not easy. Other folks, it'll come just like that. Okay? That's where we're headed next week. So, recapping, respond to the Moodle question. It's got to be done by Wednesday of next week. And by Tuesday of next week, you're going to want to have your 6 sketched ideas for your nameplate, word plate. Sorry, your word plate. You can use your name, then it becomes a nameplate. If you just use a word, it's a word plate. If you use your name, which is a word, then it becomes a name word plate or a word nameplate. So whatever you want to use as your word. And it can be as long as you want it to be. Just beware that you've got to have the shape, And Size kind of matters. You want your letters to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 inches-ish. Okay? Here's one that's a little bit smaller, but she did some other cool stuff in it too. All right? There you go. As always, if you have questions, ask someone else. No, I'm just kidding. Ask me or send me an email. All right? Hakuna Matata. Hang loose, friends. Mahalo.